There are moments in life when you can't quite explain the ache. You just feel out of place. You walk into a room and realize you're the only one who doesn't laugh at that joke. You hold a conviction that makes you look rigid or strange. You feel like your desire to live with kindness, or faithfulness, or quiet integrity makes you stick out in a world that values noise, speed, and self-promotion. And deep down, even if you don't say it out loud, you begin to wonder, what's wrong with me? But today, in this gospel, Jesus whispers something we need to hear. There is nothing wrong with you. The world hated me first. He doesn't say it with bitterness. He says it with tenderness, with full knowledge of what rejection feels like. He's preparing his disciples, and you not to be discouraged when the world doesn't applaud your faith. He's helping you see this discomfort might actually be holy, because when you belong to Jesus, you begin to stop fitting into a world that no longer recognizes what you're being shaped into. And that's hard, but it's also beautiful. You're not being rejected because you've failed. Sometimes you're being resisted because you've been chosen. And so if you've been carrying that quiet sadness of not quite belonging anywhere, I invite you to bring it into the light of today's gospel. Let's not run from it. Let's walk through it with the one who knows exactly what that loneliness feels like. Let's step into his word together. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus said to his disciples, "If the world hates you, realize that it hated me first. If you bellin, but because you do not belong to the world, and I have chosen you out of the world hates you. Remember the word I spoke to you. No servant is greater than his master. If they kept my word, they will also keep yours. And they will do all these things to you on account of my name, because they do not know the one who sent me." Now pause. Let that settle. These are not just words for another time. They are a mirror for this very moment. Jesus isn't trying to scare us. He's trying to steady us. He's saying, don't be surprised when your faith costs you something. Don't be shaken when the world pushes back. I walked this path first. If the world hates you, know that it hated me first. Those words aren't cold. They're comforting because they tell us that our pain isn't a mistake. Our rejection isn't an accident. If the most loving, gentle, humble person who ever lived could be, Jesus says, if you belong to the world, it would love you. That's the temptation, isn't it? To just blend in, to water down what's true, to silence what's sacred, all so we can feel accepted. But Jesus doesn't call us to fit in. He calls us to be faithful. And sometimes, being faithful means walking through silence, through tension, through places where our peace feels misunderstood. But we do not walk there alone. You do not belong to the world, he says. I have chosen you. Let that echo inside you. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are chosen not for comfort but for communion. You're being shaped by a kingdom the world doesn't recognize, and that's why it resists. But Jesus sees you, and he's not ashamed of you. He's proud to call you his. So if you're facing opposition, misunderstanding, or quiet loneliness because of your faith, take heart. You're not falling behind, you're following him. And he promised, they hated me, but I never stopped loving them, and I will never stop loving you. There's a kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being alone. It comes from being different, quietly different, uncomfortably different. Different in the way you think, the way you live, the way you hope, and the way you try to hold on to something sacred in a world that doesn't always see the value in it. It's the kind of loneliness that creeps in not when you're doing something wrong, but when you're actually trying to do what's right. That's the ache this gospel touches today. Let me tell you something I wish more people heard when they first started following Christ. If you really live this gospel, it will cost you something. Not because Jesus wants to make your life hard, but because the world doesn't always know what to do with light. If you're gentle in a culture that rewards cruelty, you will stand out. If you're honest in a system that praises shortcuts, you will feel strange. If you forgive when others cling to bitterness, you will look naive. And sometimes people won't say anything, but you'll feel it in the silence, in the distance, in the subtle way people pull back. I remember sitting with a teenage girl once after Massachusetts. She had tears in her eyes but wasn't crying in a dramatic way, just quiet, like something inside her had finally broken open. She said, "Father, I don't think I fit in anywhere. At school, I feel too religious. Church, I feel too broken. And even at home, I feel like I'm the only one who believes this is real." I looked at her and said something I truly believe. Sometimes, feeling out of place is the clearest sign that you're actually starting to belong to something greater. Because here's what Jesus says: "If the world hates you, know that it hated me first." He doesn't say that with anger. He says it with love, with deep, painful understanding. He's not warning us to scare us. He's preparing us not for rejection as a punishment, but as a path. His path. See, we all want to be loved. That's not wrong. We were made for love. But when the cost of being loved by the world is losing your soul in the process, that's not love. That's seduction. And Jesus knows this world. He knows the shifting loyalties, the shallow applause, the fast betrayals. And he says, "You don't belong to that. You belong to me, and that belonging will make you different." Let's talk about what that looks like. It looks like a man who works in finance, a good man who turns down a high-paying job because the company's values require him to hide his faith and compromise his integrity. And he chooses the lower salary. He doesn't talk about it on social media. He just makes the choice and lives it, quietly, faithfully. It looks like a woman who cares for her aging mother with dementia. While her friends are traveling and building careers, she is at home changing diapers again, but this time for the woman who once changed hers. She does it without fanfare, without thanks, and some people tell her she's wasting her life. But she knows, love looks different when you belong to Christ. It looks like a high school student who refuses to cheat, even when everyone else is doing it. Who doesn't go to that party, not because they're afraid, but because they don't want to lose the peace they've been building with God. And they sit alone at lunch sometimes, and it hurts. But they hold on to something deeper than popularity. They hold on to identity. It looks like a couple who choose to stay faithful to each other when the world says marriage is disposable. It looks like someone showing up to church even when they're struggling to believe, because deep down, they know that being present in their doubt is still a form of faith. It looks like choosing to speak kindly about someone who hurt you. It looks like tithing when money is tight. It looks like saying, "I'm sorry" first. It looks like praying when no one's watching. It looks like carrying a cross and smiling anyway. These are not grand gestures. These are not headlines. These are not viral stories. These are the quiet revolutions of grace, and Jesus sees every single one. But I also want to say this: it's okay if it hurts. Jesus never said it wouldn't. In fact, he says very clearly, "If they persecuted me, they will also persecute you." That's not an accusation. That's a reminder that you're in good company, that the path you're on has been walked before, not by perfect saints, but by real people, by disciples with doubts, by apostles who failed, by a Savior who was hated and killed not because he did wrong, but because he loved too deeply for the world to handle. And that's the path you're invited into. So if your life of faith feels lonely sometimes, don't give up. If people misunderstand you, keep going. If you feel like an outsider in your own home or workplace or school, hold on. Because Jesus never said the world would understand you. He only said he would be with you. And he is, not only beside you, but inside you, strengthening you, reminding you that your quiet faithfulness, your silent courage, your hidden sacrifices, they are not invisible in heaven. They are written in the heart of God. And sometimes we forget that. We forget because we look around and it seems like everyone else is doing fine. They're fitting in. They're being celebrated. They're getting ahead.